a pleasant Thursday to you. Welcome to a new week of racing here at Lone Star Park. It's Preakness week. Tomorrow, Friday, you can advance wager on the Preakness and wager on the Black-Eyed Susan from Pimlico. Tonight, Rodney Nelson, myself, Jim Byers, will analyze tonight's 7-race card. We're fast and firm. It's a little hazy, a little cloudy, but it looks like the weather will be pretty nice. It's warm, and but not too bad for the middle of May. So
yeah, that's right. We're getting toward the end of May now, and this is probably the hottest day of the year, I would say, or close to it.
Probably.
At least the warmest that we've had out here this year. It's not too bad.
No.
But hey, it's getting that time of year in Texas where it's going to get warm out here, right?
Well, we're glad you've joined us today. A nice crowd filing in for a Thursday night. First post time 6:35 Central. Once again, we are fast and firm. We've got a little carryover in the Pick 5 today. About $194 plus. That's starting with race number 3. Let's get on to the first. We've got a scratch, number 2. Amos Moses Hart. First-time starter that I was picking to beat the favorite. I think the favorite's vulnerable in here, the 4 Wagon Train, but I scratch into him. Anytime I scratch into a favorite I'm trying to beat, that indicates that I think the favorite could be vulnerable. As it turns out, I didn't bust him all the way to third. I just picked him second, so that means I scratch into Wagon Train. But I see you are going to try to beat the favorite here.
Right. I thought that Wagon Train can get beat in this spot.
Oh, yeah.
Now, the horse is going to be one to be reckoned with here in this situation. With the scratch of the 2, Wagon Train's odds are going to drop well below that 9-5, I would think, of the morning line. I went with a horse that I think can beat Wagon Train. That's number 7, Bomber Command. So this horse is going to start from the outside. Second career start for Bomber Command. You know I love horses making their second career start. This is one right here. Last time out, the horse caught a sloppy racetrack down at Sam Houston Race Park. Still was able to run 4th in that race out of 7 runners. Was well beaten, but still had a respectable finish. A couple other horses that were in that race are in this one, like Wagon Train and Without a Song. But I think that improvement from start 1 to start 2 is going to fit Bomber Command right here. Keith Asmussen gets the mount today. I mean, he wheeled off like 4 or 5 wins last weekend, so he's definitely riding on some live horses. Bomber Command, looking at the workouts too, I mean, back on the 1st of May, had a bullet that day. It was only 1 of 3, but on the 8th of May, worked again. I mean, finished in the top third of all the horses on the racetrack at 4 furlongs that morning. I think that Bomber Command could come in here and have a little bit of an upset here in the opener.
I think this race is pretty wide open. Like you say, Wagon Train's going to wind up being a short price. He should be good. I mean, he comes from tremendous stock by Pioneer of the Nile from a mare that made $400,000, Devilish Lady, who was a graded stakes winner, bred by Gary and Mary West, not our Gary West from Fort Worth, but the Gary and Mary West of Maximum Security fame.
But we'll see our Gary West horse later on today.
Oh, yeah.
That's right.
Governor Ann.
Governor Ann.
Yeah. Well, this Gary West and Mary breed a lot of really top quality horses. Now, this guy, we'll see. I mean, he's run second twice in a row, but his figs have been improving. He is a half to Punch Bowl, who's a terrific Brad Cox filly, who just ran second in the Grade 1 Ashland and won her first 2 starts at Oaklawn. That's the good news. The bad news is Wagon Train has a bunch of half siblings that, couldn't warm Punch Bowl up. So that's the problem. That Devilish Lady has produced a lot of runners that have just been very mediocre at best. So I'm going to take Wagon Train over Miami Moonlight and see what happens. I think it's interesting that the 2 Asmussens both come out of the same race April 7th. Without a Song was 7-2. Bomber Command on his debut was 5-1, so he did take some action in there. And the inside horse beat Bomber Command by, about 4 lengths, but I think Bomber Command could definitely improve today. On to the second. To the turf we go, 1 1/16. Maiden special weight fillies in this one in a field of 8.
All right, another one a little bit of a price here. Number 7, Tis a Knockout. That's going to be my horse here in race number 2. If you look, this horse has been on the racetrack 4 different times in races, all 4 of those being on the turf. So gets to run on the turf once again today. Out of those 4 races that Tis a Knockout has run already, it's hit the board in 3 of those 4 races. A third last time, a good second before that. That second was going at a mile on the 16th, just like we are here tonight. I think that this race is going to set up well for Tis a Knockout. and hopefully get some pretty good odds on this one as they run down the racetrack. I mean, this horse seems to get stronger as the race gets longer. A closer, I like those kind of horses here on our grass course. I think Tiz a Knockout takes it. I got the number one, Oil and Candy, looks like the top choice here as my second selection. I mean, you got to give a lot of respect to this horse. Out of those 3 starts, all of them two of the 3 being on the turf. I mean, last time out, this horse ran well in the maiden special weight, just missing by a length in that one. Beat Tiz a Knockout, as a matter of fact. But we'll see if the things can't turn today. I like the longer distance for Tiz a Knockout. I think that he gets the best of Oil and Candy here in race 2.
Yeah, we'll see. You know, he was 7-2. Tiz a Knockout was last time out, so well supported. But Oil and Candy was a 7-5 favorite. The good thing is they bet Oil and Candy hard in her last 2 races. The bad thing is she's run second and third, so you could look at it like she's been contending and getting bet, and they expect her to break her maiden today possibly. The drawback is she hasn't done it yet, and is she going to be a little bit of a disappointment? I went ahead and took Oil and Candy. I think she'll be able to be forwardly placed and work out a decent trip from the inside. So I took her. I think Glorio is an interesting one. Third off a layoff, has speed, stretching out from short races. The only time she went 2 turns was 7.5 on this turf, and it was quite a fiasco of a performance, but that was a long time ago. So I'm going to try her for second. On we go to the third. Scratch the 6, Rubiana, out of race number 3. This one does kick off the pick, $594.52 in the carryover, 3/4 of a mile the distance. Texas bred filly, optional claimers, or non-winners of 3 or non-winners of 2 other than.
Yeah, so let me have number 7, Texas Ascot Queen. So pretty easy to remember my first 3 picks tonight. 777, just like what you want to hit on one of those slot machines, right? Texas Ascot Queen, top choice here. Rene Diaz, he leads the riding colony so far this year on a lot of good horses. This horse was a winner last time out. That came over our track right out here on opening weekend. Did it at 5.5, so going to have to add another half a furlong on tonight. Shouldn't be a big deal. I think that Texas Ascot Queen has run some good races. If you look out here at Lone Star, has had 7 tries, has won 3 of those races, a couple seconds as well, so 5 out of 7. This horse has been in the exacta right out here at Lone Star Park. Has won a couple times in her lifetime at this 6 furlong distance as well. Good trainer, J.R. Caldwell. Putting all those things together, I think Texas Ascot Queen is the one to beat here in race number 3.
Yeah, I mean, she's heavily favored. I've never been a huge fan of hers for whatever reason. I don't know why. I must have picked her some time back, and, you know, she didn't perform for me. She certainly is capable. She wins a lot of races. She likes the track. Her last win was fine. Earned a really high buyer. I mean, a career best. I'm not totally sure she's going to actually relish that extra half a furlong. I mean, she can definitely get the distance. That's not a problem. But I think she's going to be a really short price, and I just don't think she's that much of a cinch coming right back. I think she's the one to beat, but I'm going to try to beat her with I'm a Sky Traveler, who needs to have a kind of a sitting trip and then finish. She's shown that she can sit a little and finish. She hasn't won at this distance, but she likes this racetrack. First off, the claim for Gustafson, I'm going to give her a shot. I'm going to give I'm a Sky Traveler a shot to beat Proud Valentine, whose buyers don't quite add up, but she is definitely better with Texas breds than she is with opens. I'm going to actually bust Ascot Queen all the way down to third, but that's probably a little bit of an overreaction on my part. You and Rick both have her, so that means she'll probably win. On we go to the fourth. Scratch the 8, Queen of Beers. Also scratch the 10, High Def Ridge. We're on the turf once again here for this 1 mile. Texas bred fillies, first level allowance.
All right, so I'm looking for a big money exacta here in this one. Number 2, Wicked Song. That's going to be my top choice here in race number 4. This horse was a winner last time out. I love horses that win. Did it at this 1 mile distance. Now, that was on the main track. This horse has never been on the turf before, so we're going to see how she handles the grass. But the race before that, I mean, was a maiden-breaking win that came at Sam Houston. A little bit of a layoff in between. Second start after that little bit of layoff. I love Wicked Song in this spot right here. I think this horse, 10-1 morning line odds, is pretty good on Wicked Song. Over the 7, my second choice, Missing You Crazy, another one trained by Brett Calhoun. This one put together a nice win last time out. That was they wanted to run this horse on the grass. It was moved to the main track. but Missing You Crazy went out there and led it from gate to wire. Ended up winning that race by 7 lengths. Pretty impressive in that one. Like I said, it was at this 1 mile distance. So I'm going to take 2 pretty decent long shots as my top 2, both of them trained by Brett Calhoun, and see if I can't find an exacta that pays me some of those $100 bills here in race number 4.
Yeah, it probably will, but I mean, only because, you know, Wicked Song comes out of a bottom-level non-winners of 2, but she destroyed the field. They both were nice Texas-bred maiden special weight winners in their maiden contests, and they were both fairly recent. I think this is a bit of a wide-open race, as indicated by the line. I think this might be a race where you see most of the field in the 3 to 5 to 1 range. I went and took Texas Twinkies. She got a lot better when going to the turf last time. She is a 3-year-old taking on older and is a non-winners of 2. One benefit of Wicked Song is she is the only one in the field now that's won 2 races. That could be a little bit of an advantage. But Texas Twinkies exits a race at this exact level. She ran a decent 3rd, switches to Mora today. I think if she improves a little off that last race, which was a decent rallying 3rd, she could win. What is very wide open race. Extra Spicy is intriguing to me. Stretches out from a 5-furlong turf sprint back to 2 turns. It seems like maybe from 2 outs ago she might be okay to go 2 turns, so I took her second. Run, Wit, Run, by the way, is going to get the services of Stuart Elliott tonight. Gerber Piverall not riding tonight, so Elliott rides Run, Wit, Run. Let's advance to the 5th on this 7-race card. Scratch number 9, Little John Henry. Race 5, Texas-bred maiden claimers, $7,500 the tag, and they'll go 7 furlongs.
Yeah, so here in race number 5, my top choice, I put a circle around this number, which I don't do very often. It means I like this horse quite a bit here.
Okay.
That's number 6.
Well, that's good, because I don't.
John Louis Bevo, right? So a little bit about this horse. You know, the last 3 races, this horse has been able to hit the board in all 3 of those races. 2 of them in maiden special weights. Ran a 3rd down at Sam Houston, followed that back up with a 2nd, missing just by a head. Most recent race was right out here at Lone Star Park at 1 mile. You know, it was a maiden claiming in for the $15,000 tag, so taking a drop here to $7,500, but performed well in that last race. Was able to make up some ground as the race went around. Finished 2nd, missing just by half a length. I think John Louis Bevo can have a pretty good run here. Eagle for the 10 is going to be my second choice. Danny Pish, trained horse coming from the outside. This horse is taking a drop too, but does have a couple mile races back to back. We'll see what happens with the 10, but that circle around the 6, I really like the 6 here in race number 5.
Okay. Well, I scratch into John Lewis's Bevo as a 2nd pick, so I initially had him 3rd. I'm not as high on him as you are, but I'm fine with him being my 2nd pick because, you know, he does take a drop in class and he does come off a couple of nice races. I think this race is wide open to a tremendous degree, so much so that Rick Lee is picking a horse coming off an 11-month layoff in Zipster who has won very mediocre published work. So if Rick's taking a horse like that, you know it's a wide open race. I'm taking Punto Raffavolo, number 2. Ronnie Cravens, I mean, this horse's buyer, when he stretched out to a mile last time out and got dusted against Texas-bred maiden special weights, is not very good. But it's not going to take a very good buyer to win this race. This could be one of those races where a 32 buyer like you earned last time might win the race. I don't put much stock in that 47 buyer par for this particular field. I think if you run about a 35, you'll probably win it, which could suit well for your horse because he's run a couple of 40s in a row. Punta Raffavolo, you know, he's going to be forwardly placed. He drops out of maiden special weight Texas breds down to this bottom level. He did taste this bottom level 2 starts ago and ran 5th. But that was sprinting a shorter distance. Had to pick somebody, so I'm going to give him a shot. I'm hoping I get 12 to 1 on Cravens and Cabrera.
Yeah, that'd be a pretty nice combination. I mean, Ronnie had one that won Sunday, I believe. What was the day it rained out here? Sunday, Mother's Day?
Yeah.
Yeah, he had one that popped at pretty good odds.
Yeah.
Was the benefit of a disqualification, but a win's still a win, though, right?
Oh, yeah, the DQ horse.
Yeah, and he's been having Ronnie Craven's been having a pretty good year out here, so definitely one to watch.
A very good meet. So I'm taking that just kind of on a connections pick as much as anything. On we go to the 6th. 4.5 furlongs, but that's our standard distance for 2-year-old maidens, but this isn't a 2-year-old race. In fact, these are all older horses in this one. Scratch the 2 Silver Wings from the 6th, and scratch the 7 Pickens. This is a $15,000 optional claimer, or you could have started for $10,000 or less in the last 2 years. They're going just 4.5 furlongs.
Yeah, it's funny you talked about the 2.5 or the 2-year-old distance of this 4.5, because when I first saw it, I said, "Man, these 2-year-olds have run a lot of races so far this year."
Exactly, that's kind of what it looks like.
Yeah, 3-year-olds and up though. So 4.5 furlongs, a very short sprint here. I mean, they're starting off pretty much right at the turn. So you got to have some speed to get in there, tuck down, hopefully, and save some ground. I think there's a lot of speed in this race. I think this is going to be blazing. I think there's going to be a lot of horses up there around that turn trying to win. I was just talking up Ronnie Cravens. I've got his horse pick, number 4, Good Scout, here in this one. Horse has a bunch of ones right there at those points of call. This horse can jump out of that gate, can show some speed, can get out there in front. I mean, this horse has been running against some starter optional claimings just like this. Picked up a win 2 starts back at Sam Houston at 6 furlongs. Like I said, showed that speed all the way around the racetrack. This year, I mean, this horse has had 3 wins out of 5 starts, a second as well. Only knock on this horse, has never picked up a win out here at Lone Star Park, but does have a second and a third to show for it. I think that Good Scout's going to get out there and hopefully just leave them all in the dust, but it's going to be tough. Colton's Dream, the 3, also has some speed. The 6, I'm a Bling Cat, can get out there and fire as well, as long as some of these other horses in this race. But I'm going to roll the dice, go with Good Scout here in race number 6.
Yeah, there is some tremendous early speed in this, which you would expect in a 4.5 furlong race that's going to draw horses that are kind of one-dimensional, half-miler to 5/8 miler types. I wound up with the 6, I'm a Bling Cat. I really like the way this horse came back off the layoff for J.R. Caldwell to run a tremendous race, real eye-opening buyer on the turf going 5/8, coming off the layoff, ran that on Kentucky Derby Day here, and had been off since November. We got 2 really good claims in here. I'm a Bling Cat was a great Caldwell claim. Good Scout was a tremendous Ronnie Cravens claim. If you just look at the last 4 or 5 races that each of them have run, going back to last year, in the case of I'm a Bling Cat, just reeling off the wins, one right after another. The only off performance for I'm a Bling Cat really over the last, the entire time that Caldwell's had him. He was in a really, really hard 3 other than allowance race with some super really nice mid-level sprinters, horses like Jackman and El Pando at Remington. So I'm going to take I'm a Bling Cat, and he doesn't absolutely have to have the lead, and he might not make the lead here. There's some horses that are almost impossible to beat to the lead in this spot, but really good sprint. Really interesting race. And the 7th and final is a $25,000 Filly Maiden claiming event. No scratches as when we came down here in this one. 7.5 furlongs on the turf is where they will go. And we went 7 straight races tonight and did not have the same horse on top. How about that?
So it's going to be a good night for one of us. Hopefully it's this one right here.
I think I leaned a little chalkier in some cases than you did. So if it's not a chalky night, it could be a really good night for you.
Well, hopefully we close it out with a winner in this one. Race number 7. I've got the horse on the inside rail, Basket Case. 3 starts for this filly, trained by Austin Gustafson. You got to respect him. Now, what I like about this horse, in those 3 starts, the first 2 came out west at Santa Anita Park, right? So some pretty good competition out there. That one back in February of 22 was the only time this horse ran on the turf course and ran a good 3rd in that race. Missed by half a length. Took some time off. We didn't see this horse back on the racetrack until April of this year. That was at Sam Houston Race Park. They wanted to run the horse on the turf. Ended up going on the sloppy main track. So what I think is that horse 2 back at Santa Anita, ran a good race at 1 mile on the turf out there. Is getting back to the turf for the first time today, going around 2 turns. I think Basket Case gets the job done. Jazzy Lassie, the number 2 horse, is going to be my second selection. This horse has run 3 different times and has run second in all of them after that disqualification. So I'll go ahead and give this one for 4 seconds in a row. But I know you've got Jazzy Lassie on top, right?
Yeah, I do. Her form indicates that with blinkers on and her natural tendency to be forwardly placed, they'll probably just ship out of there from that inside post and just go. This is anecdotal. It's a feeling in my head more than it is anything that I have facts on. But I think in 7.5 turf races here, I kind of like to be a little more forwardly placed than in some of the longer ones. It just seems like it. That, that finish seems to come up a little sooner since they start a little closer to the first turn and get around there. That said, I think Jazzy Lassie, her buyers seem to be clearly the best in here. Not that it's all about buyers. And Basket Case's buyers at Santa Anita were pretty good, but they were a long time ago, so I'm kind of curious if she goes back to that. If she does, she's going to be very difficult to beat. But Jazzy Lassie, to me, is the one to beat. She likes the turf, puts blinkers on. Going to try this turf for the first time. I took her over Power to Pay, who's stretching out from one-turn races for Ray Ashford. It's been a little bit of a money burner. Not a little bit. It's been a huge money burner, but I think it's a field here that Power to Play might be able to handle. And she's liable to be the early leader in this one. Jazzy Lassie might just have to pocket in behind her. So, interesting race. I give Basket Case a definite shot. Mucho Mamma Mia gets back on the turf. I mean, she's 0 for 5 on the turf, but her other turf races were in New York, Saratoga, and places like that. And she wasn't beaten all that bad at Saratoga on the turf and high-level maiden races. So if you can do that, you should be able to compete here. So don't completely sleep on Calhoun's Mucho Mamma Mia in that race either. Well, you have her third. So, no, you don't. I'm sorry. She's the 4.
Yeah, I don't have her in there at all, but,
That's
you
all right.
made a good case now.
Well, she competed okay again last year at Saratoga. Beaten 7-8 lengths, but still. Gets back on the turf. We'll see. Tonight's a good card. There's a lot of interesting opportunities indicated by the fact that we don't have a single common top pick in 7 races.
Right, it's going to be a good night to make some money out here at Lone Star Park.
Not a lot, a small sample size, but for us to be head-to-head on 7 races
doesn't happen very often
for us. And Rick varies from both of us on a few occasions in his picks as well. All right, so tonight, Thursday night racing. Tomorrow, 8 races for a Friday card here and advanced wagering. It's going to be interesting to see how things shake out. I was looking at the Preakness entries before I came down for Saturday. Red Route 1, who was kind of a mystery horse for Asmussen in the Derby Trail at Oaklawn, finally broke through in a post-Arkansas Derby Stakes race at Oaklawn. He's got him in there in the Preakness at 10-1. And, Mage is going to be a heavy favorite, but behind him, Bafford's got one in there too. It's kind of wide open. I'm hoping Red Route 1 might take to that somewhat unique distance and run well. He's certainly going to be closing, you would think, but it's going to be an interesting weekend.
Yeah, not bad. I'm sure we'll have some time to talk tomorrow about the Preakness. I'm sure you'll make some picks. I'll throw some out there as well, good. And it's going to be a fun week at the racetrack. 4 days this weekend, tonight, tomorrow, Saturday, and Sunday. Let's win some money,
Folks can join us, no doubt. All right, thanks for looking in. First post time, 6:35 Central Time. That's coming up in 41 minutes. Good luck with your picks tonight, and thanks for joining us.